Welcome to another edition of the Rome News Tribune Studio Central Face to Face. I'm Doug Walker, Associate Editor of the Rome News Tribune. Our guest for this edition of Face to Face, Tim Herrington, the Assistant Director of the Rome Floyd Emergency Management Agency. Tim, coming off of a Severe Weather Awareness Week, and while we have that week, typically the first week of February rather, yes, each year, our normal severe weather time is a little bit later.
Exactly.
In the spring, is that
exactly.
right?
Yeah, we generally start having our issues generally around the beginning of spring, and that's just with the rains and everything. We have to start preparing for that. But every now and then, occasionally, we'll have some issues early in the year, as was evident last year and this year.
Yeah, the January 30th tornado, which did, of course, tremendous damage in Bartow and Gordon counties. There's some thought that line of storm certainly passed across southwestern Floyd County.
Yes.
And Tim, I was curious, in the aftermath of that for a couple of days, we kept seeing reports that there was a confirmed tornado in Floyd County. But there was certainly not any damages in Floyd County.
No, the reports that we were getting was that there was a a cloud rotation that was actually reported down toward the Lindale, and also toward Georgia Highlands College. We did get reports of that, but we didn't have any tornadoes touch down. We did have some wind damage. We did have a lot of trees that were blown down during that particular storm. We did have a couple of residential home entrapments that the fire department had to respond to. But other than that, we came out of it pretty good.
Of course, we had a terrible situation down in the Wax community a number of years ago.
Yes.
So, Tim, how do people prepare for a tornado?
Well, the main thing is, and foremost, is you have to come up with a plan. And in order to do that, you need to start gathering information. You've got several sources you can go to. You can talk with your neighbors. You can call the Emergency Management Agency. You can go online, call the National Weather Service, and just find out what general weather hazards that face your particular area. And then you can start gaining information as to how to prepare for that by, again, calling the Floyd County Emergency Management Agency, or the best thing in the world, go online, you can Google it. There's all kind of information out there.
Tim, that's the answer for everything anymore.
That's it.
Google it.
Exactly. Where was that when I was in high school?
Yeah. We hear a lot of people talk about during tornadoes, which is obviously the biggest severe weather threat really in our neighborhood, with a possible exception of flooding.
Exactly.
But why are people encouraged to go to a bathroom? Why is a bathroom typically one of the safest places in a home?
Usually they're located in the center of the home, and there's no windows and no outside walls. And generally, with all the cases that I've seen, I've been to quite a few, but when we go out and survey the damage after a tornado, then the one room that we find that's usually in the best condition is usually the bathroom.
And again, because it's in the center and doesn't have that window, no flying glass.
Exactly.
It's typically not an issue.
Exactly. Of course, and then the usual precautions where you get in the bathtub. If you got a mattress, you put it over top of to cover you up, or blankets, or with the Floyd County being a sports town, all the little kids are playing baseball, football, or whatever. They've got helmets. Make them put a helmet on. Get in there with the helmet on.
Well, what about some of the other major threats? I know during Severe Weather Awareness Week, you had the tornado drills, you had fire drills in the schools. What about flooding, though? That's the other, with Rome being 3 rivers.
Exactly. We have a lot of potential flooding areas. Generally, with any storm that we have coming in, our biggest fear is that it'll stall over Floyd County. And when that happens, then we get a large amount of rain in a short period of time, and that in itself presents a hazard to us because of the ditches and the drainage system we have here. And once everything becomes inundated and it starts draining off, then you start having problems, because some of your low-lying areas in Floyd County, that water starts building up and it starts crossing the roads, and you know, you have a lot of folks that aren't familiar with it, and they just kind of underestimate it. And they'll drive off into those areas thinking that, you know, it's never been, you know, this high before, and I've done it a million times, and nothing's ever happened. And then before you know it, they're stuck. And then they have to wind up calling for some of the first responders to come out and, you know, attempt to get them out. And you really have to be cognizant of that, because especially with moving water, because it doesn't take a whole lot to wind up sweeping your vehicle right off the road.
The flooding of the rivers is not typically a big problem here because of the Carters and the Allatoona dams that have been built in the last 50 years. I guess what it was, probably 1990 may have been the last time that the water got up out of the Oostenaula and into the Forum area. And of course, I'm sure many old timers in Rome have seen politicians and rowboats out there in front of the Forum and whatnot. But we do have that problem with backing up, I guess, Dry Creek, Horseleg Creek, Silver Creek, and that South Macklin area is one that's particularly prone to flooding.
Exactly. And those areas, I mean, the first responders, we've got them listed on the map, the areas that normally experience flooding incidents. And we go out and we try and monitor those as close as we can. Of course, with the three rivers that we have here and the some of the creeks that we have here, if we have a lot of rain coming in, then we'll have folks out monitoring that and keeping an eye on it. And then, of course, with the rivers, we're constantly on the internet monitoring the river levels, and we keep in constant contact with Carters and Allatoona dams.
I want to talk just a second before we let you go about the technology. Just in the last week or two, we've had some controversy up in Gordon County because they've been talking about not doing maintenance and essentially letting some of their sirens go and making the switch to a code red system, which we have here in Floyd County. Why is code red good? Well,
the code red system that we have here, we looked at the possibility of sirens. And it just wasn't cost efficient because of the rolling hills and the terrain that we've got here. We felt like it just wouldn't be a benefit for us. But with the code red system, it's a lot better because when the initial, I guess when the initial alarm goes out, then the code red system is automatically activated, and it sends out the calls to a specific area that's been identified within the warning area, and it only responds with the warnings. Now, if we're under a severe weather watch or a tornado watch, then you're not going to receive a call. But once it changes over to a warning, then it automatically starts launching the phone calls to that specific area that's been designated as the warning area. So it works out a lot better for us, and it's more cost effective for us because it doesn't cost the citizens anything, and they have an opportunity to go online and register themselves, or they can contact our agency, and we'll be happy to register them online.
And that's also effective in that it reaches people whether they are at home or whether they're at work or whether they're on vacation somewhere. If it's calling a cell phone, and then that person can get in touch with people back closer to the actual structure. I want to relay one real quick story too as it relates to technology. And I don't know whether you've heard this or not. The plant manager at Daiki in Adairsville, which was just ravaged by the storm, he was telling us the other day that they were watching it on some of their cell phones. They were watching the radar, and they saw the dot for Adairsville, and they saw the storm moving to the west of Adairsville. So they uncovered.
Oh, wow.
Came out, saw the storm on them, and just miraculously nobody was killed at that plant. But understand with your own personal technology where those dots are. In his case, the dot, which he thought was downtown Adairsville, and the storm was moving west of downtown Adairsville, was actually the intersection of Highway 140 and I-75, and the storm was right on.
Exactly, it's coming right in.
So use your technology, use your code red, but by all means understand it and get a good handle on it.
Exactly.
Tim, we thank you for being with us.
All right, you're
welcome. Appreciate it. Tim Herrington, Assistant Director of the Rome Floyd Emergency Management Agency, and thank you for being with us on another edition of Studio Central's Face to Face.